This is Geauga Lake.
Well, John, let's get moving and let's show people this park.
You got that one.
Geauga Lake, gone but not forgotten. Well, Bill, we finally made it to Geauga Lake.
Yep, we made it up here. It's a great park to be.
As you can see, this is the square in front of the fountains there at Geauga Lake. The Americana there in the background. And this would be the 50s Midway, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the 50s Midway section. It was themed towards kind of a 50s diner, little hometown kind of feel to it.
There's that guy in the blue jacket again. I don't know where he comes into this. There he is again.
Interesting. He seems to be walking towards one of the many food stands here.
Yes. They had a lot of food stands in this area of the park, and it makes it a really nice, great area, especially going into the games area in this section.
Yeah, more game section here.
Yeah. Now, this is the entrance area into the Western Town, I believe it was called, and a little bit of the Western Town.
Kind of a nice, quiet section of the park. Good eerie there. Served a lot of interesting food.
Yeah. Mr. Hyde's Nasty Fall. This didn't stay around too long, mainly to the fact that I don't think it ran that well.
And looking up at the tower.
Unfortunately, I didn't have any video of this because of the fact that it never really ran.
El Dorado. Interesting ride here. A little bit of theming to it, a little more so than some of the other ones out there.
Yes, it's just basically it's your standard magic carpet ride. Themed with a 57 Chevy, I believe it is?
I believe it's a 59 Cadillac.
59 Cadillac. Okay. As you can see, the Big Dipper is in the background. One of the most wonderful coasters in the entire park.
Yeah, you can tell it's 59 by the big fins on the back.
Ah, yeah, that's
59
right.
had the largest fins of any Cadillac ever made. You get a nice view of the skyline on this ride too sometimes.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Especially when they stop you at the top for that long pause before they change directions on you. We're not going to go through the entire cycle of the ride, but we're going to give you a good idea of what it's able to do here. If we go through the entire cycle, it would be a little bit lengthy because it is about a 2 minute to 3 minute cycle time on this one. Shipwreck Falls. This is another ride that had sporadic opening and closing, and really was a great ride when it debuted. Unfortunately, it didn't get a lot of press.
No, it sure didn't. I don't remember hearing very much about it in the press, but there we go. We have a nice splash down there. And that boat was a nice little theming there as well.
Oh, yes. Now, the Big Dipper. The signature roller coaster of this section of the park. It is one of the few 1920s Woodies left in Ohio. I believe the only other one is in Americana in Middletown.
Chain lift here almost sounds like a little bit like a marimba band.
Yes, that's one of the key signatures of this roller coaster. And you can hear that almost anywhere in the entire park. Now we're on the Bel Air Express, which goes around the entire Big Dipper. It gives you a nice overview of the old water park as well as the 50s Midway section. The Big Dipper is one of the most hardest to photograph rides due to the fact that all the buildings around it sort of make like a cavernous area for this ride. It is a very difficult one to photograph. It's even harder to sometimes catch while it's running.
Actually, we're coming up on a section here, too, where it used to be the actual entrance to Geauga Lake itself went underneath the Big Dipper.
That is correct. This is the back of the front turnaround after the lift, and we're going to be heading around that, and you'll see a lot of the nice buildings and sign work that they did in this park. This is one of the longer rides in the entire park. In fact, I think this is the longest ride in the entire park. time-wise. There are other rides that I think are longer track length-wise, but this is the longest time-wise due to the fact that you're only going about maybe 4 miles per hour, if you're lucky. A lot of nice theming in the 50s area, as you can tell. They called it Rockville at this particular point in the time, but it always was a 50s themed area of the park.
Coming around to the game section here again. Oh, in the theater.
Yes, what was the name of that theater?
Oh, it's had so many names over the years.
Yeah. We just known it as Jago Lake Theater, I think, for purposes right here. The Big Dipper is a very neat coaster. If you ever get a chance to ride it, I would highly recommend it. And you can see a little bit of steel venom there in the background, as well as the
boomerang headspin.
Headspin, thank you. This is also the oldest section of the park, and this is the core element for the entire park. From this point, you can go off into almost any direction in the park.
And coming up on Shipwreck Falls here as well, with the nice needle in the back.
I think that's the skyscraper.
Oh, skyscraper. That's right.
If I remember correctly.
You're correct.
And you can see another one of the hills with the Big Dipper. It was your standard out and back, but it had a little kink in the center of it, which could throw a lot of people off due to the fact of a strategically placed pine tree.
Yeah, it did dogleg to the left, and when you were coming down, you had a nice little pine tree branch right overhead.
And you didn't see where there was doglegging, so you thought you were still going straight, and all of a sudden it jerked you to the left. And actually, no, correction, it jerked you to the right. And really threw a lot of people off. It was an added little kick there in the ride that normally, if you knew it was coming, wouldn't be there. It was quite windy on that day, and you can see a little bit of the old water park. They had moved the water park at this time from its old replacement by the 50s area to across the lake in the former SeaWorld side. A couple of these rides were supposedly, slides were supposedly sold to a Bahamas company, which never collected them. And so there they stood for everyone to watch and look at and wonder why they aren't on the other side. But this is a nice relaxing ride. It gives you a chance to maybe take some pressure off of the kids and stuff like that. And you can still see the Big Dipper there in the background and it's all in its full glory on its return trip.
I think we should be coming up on that little section of this that really slows down due to the moving of the track at one point.
Yes, that is correct. It did slow down tremendously due to a little kink in the track on the Bel Air Express. And that was so they could facilitate, I think, a walkway underneath the ride.
I believe you're right on that. You know, they added a nice walkway there, but in order to do so, they had to move it slightly.
Which is sort of the strange thing with Six Flags. They always did some crazy stuff like that, and it just always seemed a little out of place in their perfect manicured landscape and everything. At this point, if you were able to turn the camera some to the left, is a perfect shot of the Big Dipper. Since I was in a fixed location and I didn't want to jostle the camera too much, I can't get that perfect shot, but you can sort of imagine it as it unfolds here through the old water park area, going back towards the main 50s area. special note about the old water park is that I think it was the fourth time they reconfigured the water park in its current location. Once was under Fun Time, then under Premier, then under Six Flags, and then they decided to give up on that location and move it across the lake to its current location in the old SeaWorld site.
Another good view of the skyscraper here as well.
Yes, it is. They didn't run the skyscraper that often due to the age of some of the mechanical parts in it. And there you can see the Big Dipper going across there. The skyscraper was one of the first Intamin tower systems, and because it's one of the first, some of the parts were not able to be replaced as easily. And this is going towards Headspin. And there's that guy in that blue jacket here.
Where is he coming from?
I have no idea.
He seemed to be following us quite a bit that day.
Yes, he did. And here we are with Headspin. Headspin is your typical boomerang roller coaster. It drags you up one side, lets you loose, you scream and holler and kick your way through a cobra roll and a vertical loop, and then you do it all again in reverse.
And trust me, it will make your head spin.
Yes, it will. As well as bang off the back of the padding if you weren't prepared for the brakes in the station. The design is a standard design, but it's been put in so many different parks that they actually made very slight tweaks to it. This is probably one of the better models of that entire ride.
And they go flying through the station here, up through the cobra roll, down into the vertical loop.
And you actually catch a lift chain that stalls you out and drags you up a little bit on the other side, and then releases you again. To do everything in reverse. I'll show you another view here in a moment on the same ride. To give you another idea of how it runs you through this ride. Grab the chain there, hauls you up a little ways, and then the entire tray in which the chain is in actually drops away from the ride and releases you. A fairly technical ride, actually. It's such a foot-part ride. And that's Headspin. Steel Venom, the first. I think they call it Impulse launch coaster.
I believe so, yeah.
Shoots you up one side.
A twisting spike.
Into a twisting spike. Unfortunately, due to the fact of where the ride is located, it's almost impossible to get the other spike in frame. The features of this ride is the twisting spike and a hold brake that's on the flat spike. It takes you through a grand total, I believe, of 3 times.
Yes.
And on this pass would be the hold. It'll take you up over to the other side, and actually right where...
Lock. Drop.
Unfortunately, right where the boomerang coaster is right where the gum lock would be. This is the Starfish. It's in the same area there. This was originally on the SeaWorld side of the park when it was Worlds of Adventure, Six Flags. It was actually in an area which, ironically, had starfish in it. So it was a perfect nautical match in that section of the park. Obviously, someone was caught running in the park. There was also a go-kart track that was around the same area, and that's what you're hearing in the background there a little bit. Since I don't do paid rides, we don't have any footage of that particular ride because it's about what you can ride without having to pay anything extra. This will be X-Flight. This was sort of like an afterthought coaster because it sort of jets out there in the middle of the parking lot. A very great and intense coaster, and I believe it was the second of the Flying Dutchman coasters to be installed in North America.
I believe you're correct on that. I think Stealth was the prototype, and
yes,
this
Stealth.
was the second.
Then I think Borg was similar,
Similar.
which I think was Stealth.
Yeah,
They moved it.
Yeah, they actually moved that coaster.
So these coasters do sometimes travel around to different parks depending on who owns them at the time. It's a very unique coaster because you're actually flying underneath the track of it, and it gives you the sensation of flight through it. It doesn't seem like it's that fast of a ride, but believe me, you get a big enough thrill off of this thing due to all the flips and turns that it brings you through.
It has been a great ride for the park. They have had some minor issues with electrical, but other than that, it has been a very great ride.
That's mainly due to the fact that the hydraulics and some of the other components are on the actual vehicles themselves, though I think with a couple modifications that could be changed. Time Warp, the first double inverter in the entire United States. As you know, that Jogga Lake is known for some of the firsts in amusement park history, mainly that in roller coasters, oddly enough. They had the first double looping coaster, and I believe one of the prototype corkscrew coasters at one time. Cedar Fair didn't tend to run both sides of the ride, mainly due to capacity problems. They really didn't need to run both sides, but they did have both sides available, and they would alternate side to side depending on the day of the week. Usually they did run the one that was facing the public.
And as you can see, it does flip you over pretty good there. Once in a while you can stand by this ride and hear all the change drop out of people's pockets.
Yes, yes, it's a big piggy bank ride. This would be Thunderhawk. This is a nice long perspective view of the ride. If you were to stand where the high striker is, near the games area, you can get this beautiful shot in of the park down the coastline of the lake. The lake itself is one of the deepest lakes in Ohio that's inland. I believe the depth is near about 200 feet deep at places.
I believe it is spring-fed.
Yes, it is.
Rather cold.
Yes, it is. No one goes swimming in Jogga Lake. Not saying that you can't swim at Jogga Lake, but you just don't swim in Jogga Lake. I believe that was a 5-looper.
Yes, I believe 5 inversions, yeah.
Which
2
is
0 Gs, a vertical loop, and 2 cork.
yes, I think you're right on that. It makes for a very interesting ride, as it is a suspended coaster, and I'll show you a couple of the loops here. As you can see, Americana in the background there, the Ferris wheel. That's the first loop combination that goes through. It's sort of unique because it's sort of like a vertical loop slash corkscrew concept. And then there's a heartline roll here that we'll show you here in a moment. The only problem with this ride is that it's a stock production ride, meaning that it's the same layout wherever you go. There's very few custom models of this ride available.
I believe Vekoma has 3 different variations or 4 different variations of it.
But they're all non-custom. Here's Dominator. This is probably the king of this park. It is the longest, fastest, floorless coaster in the United States with the largest vertical loop there. That thing you'll lose yourself in. Going to a very nice Cobra roll. I don't know about you, Bill, but I always tended to have my feet tingle on this ride for some reason.
Yeah, I've had that happen.
So it does pull a pretty good amount of G-force.
I used to get a nice little negative G off of the brake run, too.
Oh, yes. You got a little pop off of that. Can't show you the brake run because it's behind the station. Sorry.
Unfortunately not at filming location.
And here's the corkscrews again. They're interlocking corkscrews, which is very unusual for corkscrews. They take up a lot less space than trying to put them side by side. The Villain. Probably the most underrated wooden coaster in the park. It's a CCI. It's one of the last 2 CCIs that were made. I believe the Mystic Mountain or something like that at Indiana Beach was the last CCI built. It did feature a trick track, which they did take out. This was taken with the trick track, and you'll hear the trick track very distinctly. And you can hear it there, that little grinding noise as it goes over the trick track. And this is the one turning out over the coaster here. It's a double out and back. And we have the double looper. This is one of those historic rides.
First consecutive double looping coaster.
It does feature a helix at the end, but it's not much of a forceful helix. It's just more or less to get some of the extra energy burned off the ride. The neat thing about this was the loops actually sank down into the ground a little bit, and so you got a little extra juice on the second loop, and you could gray out a little bit. One of the few rides that I've never been on in my entire life. It's a music box, indoors, in a barn. Wow.
Appropriately themed a hay baler.
Yes, and this is in the western section of the park as well. If the Ferris wheel is the soul of the amusement park, then the carousel is the heart. We just want to let you hear the sounds of the juggling carousel. This is a larger model of carousel since it has 4 rows of horses. There's very few carousels in major amusement parks that have that 4 rows of horses, and usually those are older machines. I believe this was originally installed in a International Exposition. I can't remember which one off the top of my head. And this park is basically known as the Snoopy Park because it's one of the few Cedar Fair parks where Snoopy has free roam over the entire park. You could find him in Water Kingdom, or you could find him up by the front gates. He could be anywhere in the park. Texas Twister. Again, another first for amusement parks in North America. It was the first top spin ever installed, and it was a manual version where a lot of them went to computerized, programmed flip control. To the dismay of many assist launches.
Also mentioning the extensive theming on this ride as well.
Yes. Can't get much on the Wolf Bobs due to its location in the park. I can basically show you the back turn going up the lift hill there, and we'll show you the first drop. That's about all I can really show you on this coaster because the way where it's located in, it's just not accessible. Again, like most wooden coasters, the lift chain sound is very unique to it, and with the Gerstlauer trains, it just made it that much more unique.
This actually originally had trailered PPC trains.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. And there you go. The yo-yo. This is in the back section of the park. There's just a lot of little small flat rides in this section, and killer bees as well. You've been on those, haven't you, Bill?
Oh yeah, I was on them once. They're a fun little ride.
Yeah.
Good for families.
Yes, it is.
This would be the family section of the park too, so for younger, children of that age. Good ride for mom and dad to ride with the kid.
Oh yeah, definitely. Though it can be a little forceful.
At times, yes.
And the classic fair ride, the Scrambler. It doesn't matter where you put it, it's a bunch of fun. I believe that's the pirate ship there?
Yes, the flying pirate ships.
Yeah, the flying pirate ships. Again, these are just a bunch of little family-oriented fun rides that you can take the entire family on, and they're a real great addition, especially in this section of the park. And what park would be complete without a monster? We're in the process of loading right now. It's your standard monster design. This is a 2-coach per arm. There are 3-coach and I believe even a 4-coach models of this ride. The 4-coach models are obviously the more rarer of the types. The standard ones are usually 3. And I can't remember the name of this one. Flying Dragon or some strange swinging boat ride. There doesn't matter what it is, it's fun.
This is something kids love a lot too.
Oh yeah, it just makes them giggle and laugh all the way through it. Now we come to the annoying part of the park. For those individuals who can't ride the bigger rides, we have all the buzzer rides, the little teacup rides, the ones that you have to be under a certain height in order to ride.
The rest of the day, you're gonna get the radio.
And also, what would be the park without a big playground set? And this has all those cargo nets and slides and all those fun things that people just love to climb all over. This is some of the midways going into the Wildwater Kingdom section of the park. But what park would be complete without shows?
Oh, shows are key, essential in a park.
And, well, when can you make a show not quite a show? When it's a simulator ride. And they had Dino Island 2. But what was more important is the fact that they had a special event called Oktoberfest. This is where the park really shone. And basically, if you've ever been to one of Jagged Lake's Oktoberfest, you'll generally get the entire theme. Music and food, food, and more food.
And don't forget drink.
Oh, true. Depending on what year it is, you could have very, very wonderful beer sponsors throughout this entire park.
And then there was always, of course, Mr. and Mrs. Oktoberfest.
Yes, yes. And they did a really good job of decorating the park, and you see some of the bunting and banners that they put into the park here.
There was also quite a bit of fall theming, pumpkins and corn stalks and all that throughout the park as well.
True, because right after this they usually had their Halloween events as well. And what was so neat about it is they put actual food stands. There were secondary vendors out on the midway itself. As like I said, you ate your way across this park, and they could have everything from gyros to roasted pig. And I don't mean just pork sandwich, I mean whole roasted pig.
Cooking the whole hog.
Definitely. This is one day in the park that you could gain 5 pounds.
You could also leave the park with pastries or cooking, roasted nuts, things like that too.
Oh, definitely, definitely. This was an eating event weekend, and it was only one weekend. Again, some more of the food stands in the area. But it wasn't just about food in this park. It was also about music and other entertainment. And they had several different varieties. They had a beer slide where they actually slid a glass of beer down to the other end and win prizes and stuff.
They had local dance troops and things coming in.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
Some ethnic dancing.
But mainly it was food, food, food.
Basically a culinary trip across Europe.
It was. I mean, and people would turn out for this event in droves. It really gave you an idea of what the park is capable of. Again, more food stands. I mean, they just put it out there on display. People just ate it all up, literally.
Oh, the midway was just filled with food stands. And the park was buzzing. Always at Oktoberfest, the park had a buzz to it.
Oh yeah, and it wasn't just the beer either.
No. People were genuinely happy.
Oh yes, yes. You could see if there was a sad face among the crowd, you knew that it had to be something horrible for them to have that bad of a day.
Speaking of that, I wonder where our friend in the blue jacket went to.
I don't know. I think he ended up finding a cheeseburger stand somewhere and chowing down. Or maybe, heaven forbid, is that him right now? No. That's just a pig.
Maybe we should check in on the beer school and see if he's in beer school.
That could be true, too. But like I said, they had everything. You just eat your way across this park. And unfortunately, that did have some side effects, especially riding rides like the Villain or Headspin. You sometimes left some of your lunch there at the park as well. But what better way to finishing the day than festivals? Why don't we go on in here for a while?
Okay, let's try it out. And now we walk into the fest house. Ooh, look at the theme. It looks really nice out there.
Oh, yes, it does. The corn stalks and everything really set it off.
Oh, here we go. This is what I've been looking for all day.
Yes.
What's polka?
Of course, it's the traditional songs of Eastern Europe.
I guess they even allow the Pennsylvania polka in Ohio sometimes.
Yeah. It sort of sounds weird when you try to sing Blue Moon over Parma or somewhere like that. It just doesn't quite fit in. Though, Parma was the polka capital of the world, I believe.
Right? Yeah, one time I believe it was.
Again, they would have the German flags out on some of the buildings and everything. And they really put their best foot forward. This was traditionally the end of their season this weekend. And you would have roaming accordion players. Who would ever think you would ever have a roaming accordion players in an amusement park? No, they did here.
This was really, some parks will just close their doors for the season, whereas Juggle Lake always seems to put their best foot forward right at the end for the joy.
Yeah, and it really helped carry the park over to the following year.
What made you excited about coming here this year? You think about it all winter, and then when that day finally came, you're like, wow, I get to go to the park today.
Yeah, it's one of the few parks where I actually got really excited and got that butterfly feeling in your stomach because you were going to Jogga Lake.
Roll me out like a barrel after all this food today.
Oh, you wouldn't believe it. Sadly, that was Jogga Lake. This is what's left of Jogga Lake. You have a few water slides. Tornado slide, a lazy river, though the tornado slide was quite fun.
Oh yeah, got a lot of air off of that.
And I believe the standard barrel playground set. You find this almost in every single water park to the point where it's not even really that exciting, but yet it still is fun.
Well, at the time this was put in, it was one of the larger ones.
That is true.
Since then, of course, they've gotten only bigger, but this was a very fun one. The kids love to get splashed by that big bucket, too.
Yeah. And the wave pool was a quite nice wave pool. It's a little bit smaller than most wave pools, but it was still a fun wave pool.
And also, they can change up the way that the waves are made too,
That
where
is
they
true.
come from, the direction.
They did have one outdoor grill area and a few other eatery stands and a little bit of shopping. And that was Juggle Lake.